Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. Joining us on Newsmax TV is a very special guest and a very familiar face, former presidential candidate Fred Thompson. He represented the state of Tennessee as a Republican in the U.S. Senate from 1994 through 2003, but he is also known for his work as an actor, having appeared in a large number of movies and television shows, including the long-running NBC television series Law and Order. He is also the host of his own radio program, The Fred Thompson Show, which he hosts with his wife Jerry on Westwood One. Well, Senator Thompson, thank you so much for joining us on Newsmax TV. You recently said that Obama's dithering on whether to send troops to Afghanistan doesn't really matter because the war in Afghanistan has been lost. You believe we've lost this war?
I think on the present path that we're on, and with the attitude of the administration now, that's going to be the inevitable result. I hope I'm wrong about that. But I think we're paying too much attention, putting too much emphasis on the exact number of troops that the president comes up with. He'll probably try to split the difference somehow. But the fact of the matter is that you have a president whose heart is not in this. He wants it to go away. He's obviously more concerned about an exit strategy than he is being aggressive on this matter and doing what just about all of the military people are advising him to do, and I think that makes it impossible. I think the president has got to be strong. He's got to believe in it. He's got to believe that it can be successful. He's got to be able to make the case to the American people. They're divided on this thing already. It's going to be a long, drawn-out operation. General McChrystal says that even if he gets what he wants, it's going to be long and drawn out. The Afghan people have got to believe that we're going to be there because they know the Taliban will be if we're not. So they're betting on a winner. And by waiting around these 2 months and maybe 3 months, you know, he's giving all the indications that his heart's not in it. He's not fully committed to it, the notion that we can have a victory there. And, you know, my statement was meant to be provocative. I think we're not paying enough attention to it. I think we're giving him too much of a pass for waiting while the whole world watches and every day has increasing doubt about our resolve to be successful there. So, as I say, I hope I'm wrong. It doesn't have to be that way. But on that present path, I think that's the inevitable result.
What harm does this delay do, and to whom?
I think it just shows the president's lack of resolve. He sent his war team back again and again, and he clearly is focused on an exit strategy. I mean, that's the word that's coming out of the White House. And to lead off with the question of exactly how and when are we going to get out is a signal to the other side that they just have to wait us out. I think it's damaging to the American citizens who he has to convince that this is the right thing to do, to make the sacrifices to do it. It's damaging to our allies. We're having difficulty enough in getting most of them to fight anyway. And it's certainly damaging as far as the enemy is concerned, and the Afghan people, who are going to be betting on a winner. They're not going to side with us if they don't think that we're in for the long haul, because they know the Taliban will be right back, Al-Qaeda will be right back. And they don't want to suffer the retribution of having sided with the United States if they feel that we're not going to be a winner.
Do you think we should send more troops to fight in a war that our president apparently doesn't believe in?
Well, I'll save that for another discussion. But I will say this, the president's got to ask himself that question. Nothing would please me more than for him to get his heart into it, to get his mind into it, and start by doing what General McChrystal requests. But there's a lot more to it than that. There are going to be a lot of decisions along the way, decisions concerning troops, decisions concerning financing of this war. I'd say a majority of his party in the House of Representatives are probably not going to be supportive of him. He's got to convince them it's the right thing to do. There are going to be decisions on strategy and how to deal with the Afghan government that's there, all those things along the way. It's not just a matter of troops.
If you were president, how would you be handling this?
Well, I would make a total commitment that we were going to prevail there and do what's necessary to prevail. I think our national security will be damaged if we don't prevail there.
The federal debt is being pushed to unprecedented levels. The national debt is inching precariously close to the statutory limit of $12.104 trillion. So the Obama administration is frantically trying to get Congress to raise limits. What should we be doing right now when it comes to our national debt?
Well, we have to recognize that we are spending ourselves into bankruptcy. We're looking at $1 trillion plus deficit a year as far as the eye can see. We're going to triple our national debt by the end of this 10-year period that we're looking at fiscally. We're getting, in terms of a percentage of our economy, our debt is getting toward third world status. I mean, it's just, it's unsustainable. So we've got to do something about that. The biggest part of that is so difficult is our entitlement obligations, which we can't meet. We have, the estimates differ, but probably at least a $50 trillion unfunded obligation as far as our entitlements are concerned. There's no way we can meet that, no way we can do it. Now we're talking about this health care legislation that will increase that. They claim, bogusly, dishonestly, that it will help, but you can't have a new entitlement program and not increase it. So we were on an unsustainable path before health care, and now we're just going to exacerbate the problem. So we've got to quit doing the wrong things, and we've got to get a handle on spending. And it's a very difficult thing to do, but we really have no alternative.
Then, speaking of health care reform, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office came out saying that it would cost $196 billion a year for Obamacare, and that 24 million people would still remain uninsured. What is your take on the health care reform legislation under consideration by Congress right now, and just how different would your strategy be from Obama's?
The health care legislation is probably the most damaging, I think, and dishonest piece of legislation that I've seen in my lifetime since I've been following these matters. It's dishonest in terms of the numbers. The CBO can only grade what they're given. These hypotheticals, if we do this, if we do that. We don't do this, we don't do that. We don't cut the spending that's in this bill, for example. We never have, and there's no indication that we never will. We do things like in these bills that are coming out, we do things like start the taxes right away and kick the benefits in 2014. And other tricks like that. To one part of it, the long-term care provision, Senator Conrad says is nothing more than a Ponzi scheme. This is the Democratic chairman of the Finance Committee. So it's bogus and dishonest in terms of the numbers. And basically it's trying to be sold as a free lunch, that we can have the same kind of care that we have now. We can have the same number of doctors that we have now, and hospitals will operate the same. We'll have the same medical innovations that we have now that keep so many of us alive that wouldn't be here except for them. We'll have the same amount of medical device manufacturing and so forth. None of that is true. You can't tax these people into oblivion and bring 30 million people onto the federal rolls and think that you're going to not swamp doctors and hospitals, you know, and have them say, okay, you know, may I have some more, please? I mean, this is just not going to work that way. So I'm very concerned about it and hope it'll be defeated.
As a result of growing dissatisfaction with the job situation, the economy, Afghanistan, healthcare reform, President Obama's approval ratings have pretty much sunk to an all-time low, and he's apparently taking Democrats with him. What hope do you have for a Republican revival?
Well, I think that the Republicans will do very well next year. I think the president is trying to do some things that the American people see through and that the American people don't want. So Republicans will get the benefit of that. But you know, then Republicans have to perform. We have some serious problems ahead of us, but clearly the president's trying to take the country in a direction that would be bad for it, and in a direction that it doesn't want to go in. The president made a miscalculation. He thought that because he was elected that he could rush through this grand social scheme that would put him in the history books forever. And it just doesn't work that way. You can't pass such unprecedented sweeping legislation strictly on a partisan basis and have it work. And that was what he was trying to do. And I think he'll pay for that in the polls and in the elections.
There's been a little bit of a tug of war between conservatives and moderates in the GOP. Do you feel that conservatives are beginning to take back the Republican Party?
Oh, I don't know. You know, I think that conservatives are the core of the Republican Party. There's no question about that. I'm not concerned about that. I think that you know, if we do the right thing, that we will be as a party that will appeal to the independents out there, which is what happened in Virginia this last election for governor, and also in New Jersey. And I think that that's the key to what we're doing. I think we just need to hold steady and do the right thing, stick to our conservative principles. The Democrats are the ones in disarray. I mean, they are strongly divided on this health care legislation. They're having big abortion fights. They're having public option fights. MoveOn.org and left-wing groups like that are threatening Democratic House members, threatening them with primary opposition. They're raising money and running ads against them. Jesse Jackson is telling black members that you can't call yourself a black man if you don't support the health care legislation, and foolishness like that. I mean, the Democrats are the ones who are going to have to answer the question, can they come back together again?
How does Sarah Palin factor into the future of the Republican Party?
Well, she's going to be a player if she wants to be a player. I don't think there's any question about that. She draws tremendous crowds, and she taps into something that is out there, and that is a dissatisfaction with almost all things Washington. People are very skeptical these days and cynical at unprecedented levels concerning Congress, concerning what the administration's doing, concerning Wall Street, concerning the media, and all those things. And the more they all try to beat up on her, the more that people rally to her that are inclined in her direction anyway, protective of her. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But it's a long time before the next presidential primaries. But if she wants to be a player, she will be.
What are your plans for 2012? Will you run for president again?
No. I gave it the office.
Why won't you run again? You have a loyal following.
I don't. I think that personally, you have to be willing to devote a long period of time in preparation to it. That's something that I thought I could get around this last time, and it proves that they call it the system for a reason. It is a system that's well tried, and it's getting more and more so that way. You have to start years in advance and raise money and so forth, and lay your groundwork and build like that. I don't have the personal interest to make that personal sacrifice again for my family and myself. I didn't go through all that the last time. I mean, that was part of the problem. Is when I started, but it is required, and you have to have that kind of ambition for the office in order to be successful. And I'm not willing to pay that price.
What do you say to your supporters who may be a little bit disappointed?
Well, they could send money anyway.
So who would you like to see running for president in 2012? Who would you like to see in office?
I don't have any candidates for that. I know that there have been several good names already mentioned, and we all know who they are. And there may be others. There may be others. I don't think it's necessary to coronate someone before everybody's had a chance to have their say, and we make sure that we know what the field is going to be. And we see how people react to developments occur. I'm interested in this Afghanistan issue, obviously, and to see how, what people's analysis is about that. We elected one inexperienced president, and I think we're paying the price for it. And we need to make sure that we have someone with judgment and experience to make the right decisions, and primarily to keep this country safe.
All right, Senator Fred Thompson, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
My
You're one of
pleasure.
our favorites on Newsmax TV.
My pleasure.
We
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.
Sarah Palin's new book, Going Rogue in American Life, will be released on November 17th. You can be among the first to get your copy. Check out our incredible free offer for Sarah's new book. Just go to Newsmax.com and click on the top banner for this great offer. Act today.